Thank you so very much for tuning in 98.3 FM The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. And of course, I'm your host, Marty Jalove. And I come at you every single Monday night at 7 o'clock to talk about your job, your career, your vision made clear, the skills that you hone for the business that you own, the ups and downs, the smiles and frowns, where you're at and where you're bound. If you miss any of today's episode, that's okay, because if you can tune in later in this week, anywhere, almost anywhere you listen to podcasts, we're going to get the recording up there. Just look for Bacon Bits with Master Happiness anywhere you listen to podcasts. As you know, probably if you've listened to the show, you know I'm on a quest to bring you the industry best, always some special guests. And once a month, I have a real treat for myself, hopefully for some of you out there listening, but it's a treat for me. I have my boys here, both Luke and Nate. Nate and Luke. Luke's practicing his smile. There you go. Luke, thank God this is radio. All right, that's all I got to say. And over there, there's Nate. There, see, that's a human smile. I like that. All right, so I appreciate all of that. All right. So all this year so far, can you believe this? This is like the 8th month, right? Is it the 8th month or the 9th month? 8th. Yeah, thank God. Yeah, I didn't want you to talk yet. So number 3 is on. What number are you? Number 5? There we go. Oh, there you go.
Hey, there it is. Look at it.
Nice. Now we can hear everybody. Wow.
Excellent.
All right. I gotta learn.
Thanks for inviting me to your show, Marty. I gotta say,
I learned to keep that mic off.
Being here.
Right. Thank you. How about you, Luke? You love being here?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Good show.
Yes. Well, it's gonna be a good one.
Thanks.
Anyway, so for this, the 8th month, what we've been doing this year is talking about leadership. We've been talking about some of the greatest leaders from the past and what we can learn about them current times, right? And last month or so, I asked Luke who we should talk about this month, and he picked a great one, Odysseus. Okay, Odysseus, especially because the Odyssey is a really popular movie right now. And Luke, I got to ask you, maybe was the Odyssey and Odysseus, the names are so similar. Are they tied together, or is that just some kind of a kooky coincidence?
Yeah. So
yeah, Marty.
Good. I mean, it's a real softball you sent me, to be fair.
Well,
the Odysseus, if I'm not mistaken, was a character in the pre-existing text, the Iliad, or at the very least,
well, the Iliad is about him fighting the Trojan War.
Yes, or rather, the Iliad and the Odyssey, I think, are more collections of pre-existing Greek myth.
Gotcha.
Based on these characters. So yeah, it's called the Odyssey because it's a story about Odysseus.
And I guess it's just the reason I ask is because I've heard the Odyssey longer than I've heard about the main character, Odysseus.
I mean, it's the same thing. A lot of people have noticed this with the movie. There's the character in the Odyssey, Mentor, who is an advisory character to Telemachus,
which makes sense.
And
where the word came from.
Yeah, he's in the movie, and there were some people online who were like, I thought it was a little lazy that they named him Mentor. And it's like, that's
I like that.
You're not
another guy named Greek Salad, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What? I don't think I understood that.
In other words, a little lazy. No, but actually that's where the Greek Salad was named after that character. There you go. No, sorry. I was reaching. Wow. Anyway, all right. So before we get into this, all right, while we still maybe have 1 or 2 people out there listening to us, what's your take on the whole idea of the Odyssey and Odysseus? What is your takeaway if you were to read the Odyssey or see the movie or go back and watch the older versions of the movies? What is kind of your takeaway? What's the lesson, if there's a lesson to learn? I want you guys to answer. Raise your hand if you have an answer. We'll just assume Nate doesn't.
I always have an answer.
Right.
Just might not be the right one.
There you go. So
I'll take it first.
Yeah.
So I think there are 2 answers to that, because the movie, I think a lot of what the film does is it changes the general message of the work, specifically by applying Odysseus's mindset to a more modern one. Whereas I think the text is very specifically almost all of the books, and back then it was a series of books, it's a series of poems, not necessarily one central theme and message, but the general idea is of this Greek idea of xenia, which is generosity and like accepting strangers and outcasts into your home and treating them as guests.
And that xenia.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is what almost every book in the Odyssey is, in some regard, if you're looking at it through that lens. the Cyclops is a monster because he's a terrible host to his guests. Same with Circe and Calypso. Whereas the guests in Odysseus's home are terrible because they are abusing Penelope's Xenia. They're taking advantage of being accepted in as guests.
Wow. That's going to be a tough one for anyone to top, but I'm going to throw it to you, Nate. What's your takeaway?
Yeah, he's got me smoked on that.
Somebody did their homework,
right? Yeah. So one of us went ahead. I watched the Odyssey. So
okay. So what do you got? Homework. That's all right. So what'd you think of what was your takeaway on seeing the movie?
Honestly, I really liked the idea of.
Don't tell me how it ended. I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah. Just the perception of so often great warriors, we're always thinking of being as strong, powerful fighters, and just exceptional leaders and everything like that. And this was a different twist because I remember even seeing the movie and then I was driving back and your daughter, my beautiful wife, and we were talking and I was like, he wasn't. I didn't really. He didn't really sell it. And she said, well, the whole idea is that he was a thinker and a strategist,
right? He was cunning.
And all that.
Yeah.
And so it's the whole idea of in the ancient world, the great warriors were just these absolute brutes. But it's almost more harkening back to Sun Tzu and all of that of being a great leader doesn't always mean being the most powerful. It's more about being who is most in control of the situation.
Wow.
And it's kind of that balance of, not just power, but also strategy and forward thinking and everything like that.
Beautiful. I'm going to go with a slightly different twist. I've got a couple things here. First, I want us to drive home that I believe we have to learn that great leadership is tested, not gifted. Okay. And so if you want to be a great leader, it's going to happen all the time. Things are going to change. Cunning beats brute force, which is exactly what you were talking about, more often than we want to admit. It's more about cunning than just being the tough guy. All right. And another part that I think is really important, it really hits home to me, is getting home is a leadership skill as well. This whole idea that the entire trip, his passion, his goal was to getting back home. There was plenty of times, plenty of places where lesser men could have said, we're going to stop. We're just going to stay here. I'm going to give up, or I'm going to enjoy here. When it was the first islands he was at, where the gods finally said, we're going to give you permission to go home. But he was still at a place where I was like, well, why go home? This is a decent place. There's something about having a place home to say, I'm going to fight for it. And I'm going to face unsurmountable odds to get home because that's what's important to me. So I think there's something to that. And I think for the business standpoint, understanding the passion, the goal, the mission, the vision, our objectives, and saying, are we going to stick to it? And we're going to fight for it. And we're going to make sure we get there no matter what happens. No matter hell or high water, we're going to overcome those things in our way in order to accomplish that. Sometimes along the way, we realize maybe we have to change our goals. Maybe we have to change our vision slightly. But once we do that, we have to realize we're not changing it because of failure. We're not changing it because of fear. We're changing it out of necessity of a different direction where we have to go. But we still have to continue to fight because as a leader, if we give up fighting, nobody else who's following us is going to fight for us.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of strength to this. And I got to hand it to you, Luke. I'm glad you picked this one. Because at first when you picked it, I thought, this is just going to be fun. This will be a lot of fables and stuff. But there's so much truth and so much I think any leader can end up learning here. So with that, I'm going to jump right into the bacon, explain the bacon, and then let's start breaking this down. And then hopefully what we'll do is we'll use Luke as our historian to share these great stories as we go through this. So the bacon today, you understand, everyone who's listening understands why the show is called Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. The reason we call it Bacon Bits is everything that bacon touches becomes just a little bit better. And of course, these stories, these ideas that we're sharing become a little bit better when we apply bacon. But of course, we are not talking about the bacon for chewing.
Oh, no, Marty. We're talking about the bacon for doing.
Thank you, Nate. I knew I'd turn the camera on the right guy. Yes, we are talking about the bacon for doing. So we're using the acronym BACON today. So today we're going to be talking about those leadership skills that we learned from Odysseus. And B has got to be boldness. You've got to be bold. You've got to go out there and just show this whole idea that I'm willing to stand up for what I believe in. I'm willing to be courageous and do the right thing. Okay. A is adaptability. I think without a doubt, all of you guys shared those same kind of stories more about his cunning than his strength. Okay. C then continues with that. C is the cunning and critical thinking. It's think your way through the problem as opposed to always letting emotion take over. O is ownership. You have to own your own way there. You're relying on your team to support you, but the decisions you make are yours. And we've talked about a lot of ownership, that's something a lot of leaders have in common. And then N is going to be navigation through adversity. All right, finding that way through. And let's see if we can go through this whole thing. So Luke, what out of the stories there? All right, and Nate, because I'm gonna say you did better than an audio book. You saw a visual book. You saw the movie.
Yeah,
all right,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm ready. Between me, you, ChatGPT, the movie, and Luke.
Oh,
I mean, we got it.
We got this.
We're locked
good.
in.
Good. Excellent. So what was your favorite story? What was your favorite moment in the idea of the Odyssey?
I think my favorite section of the Odyssey is probably with this is such a tough one because there are so many iconic sections of the piece. I think one that I'll say this because it's not really presented quite accurately in the movie, so it's a little lesser known. But this is actually the first thing that Odysseus does. He does it even before the Cyclops.
Okay.
He goes to the island of the Lotus Eaters.
Yes.
And they are these he meets these people who just sit around on an island eating this lotus.
Yeah.
And that's all they do because the lotus makes them not want to leave and not want to go home. And some of his men eat the lotus and they're afflicted by this.
Sure.
And the way that he solves this problem is by not accepting that. He basically says, well, I don't care about this lotus. You guys are getting on the ship.
Right.
He has his other men. He says, don't eat the lotus. Pick those guys up.
Put them on the ship.
Throw them on the ship. We're getting out of here. And through that, I mean, the men get better. They don't. It's one of his only adventures where he loses no men.
Okay.
Because he just he sticks steadfast to his conviction. And at this point, he would because it's so early in the adventure.
Right. So I like this. Tell me if you feel the same way. The story of the Lotus Eaters to me is really important because what it does is it represents all the distractions that we have in life right now. It's really easy for us to get caught up in social media. It's really easy for us to get caught up in a small part of our company. You know, like I'm caught up in this task, even though I know this other thing is more important. I want to do the fun thing because this task is more difficult. All right. And so we allow ourselves to get distracted. We allow ourselves to put off and postpone and procrastinate when we know what we should be doing. All right. And I think it's really cool because then Odysseus says, as the leader, he has to understand that his men, just like in their businesses, our people will also find reasons to be distracted. They'll find reasons to procrastinate. So as a leader, it's not so much punish them as much as show them the way. You know, get them to maybe grab some of these other people, use them as mentors, guides, whatever, get them back on the ship so we can all head towards our final destination. Now, is there a different message or a different idea that you got out of that?
Out of the Lotus Eaters?
Yeah. What did you take out of it other than the fact that you just wish you had some lotus to eat?
No, I think that's all right. It's about how, and I think also in the sense, you know, this was a war they were coming back from.
Yep.
It was this idea of to push past the ease of giving up or settling.
Yeah.
Settling, just being like, well, there's no point. It's such a long journey. Let's just stay here. It's like, no, we have to go. We have to get back there. And I bet because, you know, Odysseus probably didn't exist, but some version of him did. Some version of the Trojan War does seem to have happened historically. Right. So that's probably what the Lotus Eater fable comes from. This idea of there were people who were over here in this foreign land and said, I don't think it's worth making the trek back home.
Gotcha. Right. I've got
the risk.
This all just seems okay. And I think that goes back to what I was saying initially, is that he had a focus, a vision, a dream and a goal for his company to say, this is what we're out for. This is what we're doing. Don't let these other things get interfere with us. We have something to go. We've left to take care of one thing. Now it's time for us to come home. All right. So Nate, I want to jump into this letter B, which is bold. All right. And the way I look upon it is the first thing is the whole reason when you think about the beginning of the Odyssey. I don't know if in the movie they talk about it, but it's really based on the whole book, the Iliad. The first book is about the Trojan War. And this boldness, this idea that bold decisions create opportunities that caution never will. All right. And they were looking at this whole idea of going, how do we win the Trojan War? How do we possibly penetrate the walls of this incredible city? Right. And it was Odysseus that said, let's do this. Let's build the Trojan horse and kind of give it as a gift, make it seem like this is a peace offering. Maybe it looks like we're surrendering, whatever the deal is, but came up with something bold, dynamic, something that says this could work or this could be horrendous. This could be the end of us. But built the thing, put their men inside it. They wheeled it into the kingdom. And when everyone was fast asleep, the men snuck out, and that's how they won the Trojan War. So those are types of bold decisions that leaders have to make. So Nate, think about this, past jobs or whatever, or even yourself. Have you ever made any great, big, bold decisions like that? Things that you were like, I don't know, my gut tells me this works, but let's give it a shot.
I mean, I think for me, I mean, one of the biggest decisions I've always made is whenever I've changed careers, right?
Okay.
For me, it's always about forward motion and growth and looking around and just seeing, like, surveying my surroundings. Can I grow here? And if I can't grow here, what is the next step? And so, it's been a driving force. I mean, I've only ever changed jobs 3 times, but each time that it happened was I looked around at my situation. And I said, I know I can do more than this. And so I need to step out, and I know what I am capable of. But a lot of times people will find themselves settling into a role, settling into a position or a career where it is maybe they're not fulfilled or maybe they are not happy, but it's comfortable.
Yes.
And so, a big thing, and I tell my drivers this, I tell my team this, I tell the managers that I'm bringing up underneath me, I go, you have to, like, if something isn't working for you, you have to change it. And that takes a step of boldness, looking around and taking that risk. But every time that I have changed roles or careers or pushed forward, it has always been risk involved, but it's been a bold move, but I have never regretted it. And so that's just kind of the thing, is like just telling people, always push to be better.
There you go.
If you aren't where you want to be, then it's up to you to change it. No one else is going to change that for you. You have to take those steps. You have to be bold. And so if you know you can be a greater asset to your company, if you know you can achieve more, do more, then push for it where you currently are.
I like it.
And if not, then change. Look for other opportunities. I mean, the business world is growing and changing and evolving in so many different ways. And if where you are is not going to be your forever home, then don't waste more time. Why be stuck in a cubicle for 40 years hating your job? Push and grow. If you think you have the potential, then go for it.
I like it. I like it a lot. And I'm going to take it on the flip side. From the leadership standpoint, you got to look at your people. Do you want a group of people who are just comfortable with their job, or do you want people hungry for more? And I've worked with some companies. They're like, I don't have any more to give them. I need them in that position. I don't want them to be hungry. And I'm like, wrong, because you don't always have to grow up like a tree. You can grow sideways like a bush. There are things that you can say, hey, you're going to stay at the same level, but I want your input on these things. I work with one company that we really are pushing for these groups of team leaders that are doing small tasks. We're giving them ownership of these certain duties that just expands upon what they do. And they understand that everything they're doing is for the greater good of the entire company. And it gives them responsibility, gives them an opportunity to grow. Because not every company has the ability to go, hey, I started in the mailroom and I became the supervisor, then the manager, then I took over marketing and I became a vice president. Now I'm the CEO of the company. Not every employee can follow that path, right? But you've got to give room for people to be aggressive, to show that they want to grow, they want to become something. Other than that, if you don't do that, then you have an entire company of people who are just comfortable with their job and doing just enough. Okay, so ask yourself this. What's the bold move my team is too scared to make? Think about that. When you ask your team, how are we going to grow? What's our next step? What is the thing that we're too afraid to do? And this could be not only my team, but myself. It could be my supervisors, could be the owner, like going, oh, this could be, I don't know if we want to do this. There's a certain amount of calculated risk that separates the average guy versus the bold guy. Okay. It's the type of guy who sits there and goes, man, everyone's lowering their prices. Do I lower my prices, or do I say, no, I'm going to hold on to this to show my stuff is got a certain amount of value? Or do I even say, while everyone else is lowering their prices, I'm going to raise my prices to show that doing business with me is worth something, and it's worth a little bit more. Because a bunch of companies that continue to lower their prices, it's just a race to out of business. Okay. So that's boldness with this. And I think the way that Odysseus did this whole thing with winning the Trojan War by creating the Trojan horse, something so completely different. I love hearing stories like that where people break the mold and they do something incredibly different that just stands the test of time. Okay, so let's get into this A, and that's adaptability. All right, leaders who adjust fastest survive the longest. Okay, and one of the things that I'm gonna again throw up to you, Luke, is that one of the strengths that Odysseus had was that every obstacle that he faced, he didn't say, well, we already know how to do this, we're going to solve the problem over and over the same way. He adapted to the problem, figured out the solution, and solved it in a different way. So
Yes.
What do you got on that, Luke?
No, yes, that's accurate, because that, every Homeric warrior was expected to be incredibly strong, incredibly gifted. So the things we look for to set them apart are these things, Odysseus's cleverness or Agamemnon's ruthlessness. And it's just one of those things, like Odysseus doesn't return to his home after all these years as himself. He returns in disguise.
Yeah.
And first just gets an idea of, is it safe for him to return to this place?
Right.
After he's been gone for 20 years, after so much has happened. And it's lucky that he does that, because as he learns, there's a lot going on that he needs to deal with. And had he just strutted in and said, I'm Odysseus, this is me, he probably would have been killed or at least like attacked. And that is just one instance of he was approaching things from a smarter way, a cleverer way, rather than necessarily the most honorable or straightforward way, because that was what set him apart. That was the thing that made Odysseus such an iconic character.
I love the fact that you shared that story. I was thinking the one I wanted to talk about was more about the Cyclops and what he did to fight the Cyclops. But I love the fact that you shared that story because it's so perfect. Because the rest of us, if we spent 10 years fighting the Trojan War, then 10 years wandering around trying to get home, so 20 years away from home, right? He's got to be really missing Penelope, right? So he's spending 20 years to get home. You've got to figure by the time he gets to the shore, he's like, he just wants to yell, hey, everybody, I'm home. Remember me? You would think that, but he was smart enough to go, I've been gone a while. Let me check out and see what's going on. And let me play it slowly. So I do love this whole idea. So Luke, can you tell us a little bit about the whole Cyclops incident? How he ran into the Cyclops, how he got trapped, and how he beat him?
Yeah, I guess I could talk about this.
Thank you.
I was trying to go a little deeper cut.
No, that's all right.
So Polyphemus is a Cyclops.
Nice.
Unlike all Cyclopses, he's the son of Poseidon.
I didn't realize they were all the sons of
Yes, all Cyclopses and all horses are children of Poseidon.
It's interesting because Poseidon's the god of the sea, and all the Cyclopses only have one eye. Makes you think. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, interesting.
That was tough. That was tough, Marty. I'm going to be honest. I'm usually on your side, man. That was rough.
Odysseus and his men, they're hungry. They're looking for food, and they see sheep on an island. They wander in, and they expect to be greeted as guests because of this Greek custom of Xenia. And they find a brutish, hulking monster, the Cyclops, who traps them in their home. And he says, hey, Odysseus, or he doesn't know his name at this point.
Yeah.
He says, tell me about yourself. And he says, I will reward you if you entertain me. And Odysseus, he's like, well, I'm a guest.
Yeah.
So he not only tells the Cyclops like with their condition they're in, but he does entertain him. He flatters the Cyclops.
Yeah.
And the Cyclops says, okay, you've earned my reward. And my reward is I'm going to eat you last.
Oh,
that's what he says.
Nice.
Which is
goody.
So Odysseus, he's like, well, okay, jerk. So Odysseus comes up with a plan.
And in the book, he called him a jerk.
Yeah, he called him a jerk.
All right.
Odysseus comes
translates that on.
Yeah, right.
Ancient Greek.
Odysseus, because I guess he was wary in the first place.
Yeah.
He never introduced himself by his name. This is a famous part. Didn't make it into the Christopher Nolan movie. He calls himself Nobody.
It's not in the movie?
No.
Oh, okay.
He calls himself Nobody. He says, that's
Okay.
me. I'm Nobody.
Right.
And the Cyclops just goes, oh, weird.
Yeah.
So later, when the Cyclops is asleep and they blind him, and the Cyclops wails in pain. He wails outside.
Sure.
And the Cyclops buddies show up. They say, hey, Polyphemus, what's going on? He says, oh, nobody blinded me.
Wow.
And this who's on first routine.
Nice.
They're like, oh, well, I don't know why you're crying.
Yeah.
It seems weird. And they just leave him alone. And he's like, and the Cyclops is like, oh, why didn't I specify it was a person named Nobody?
Right.
Furthermore, the thing that I actually think holds up as like a clever decision is once they blind him, they know the one thing he lets out is the sheep because he's a shepherd. He has to let them graze. So, taking advantage of him being blind, they I think it's bramble is what I forget exactly what it is, but they put things on their back, and crawl along the ground with the sheep so that they seem like sheep. So that the Cyclops is fooled because he's blinded. And of course, Odysseus and his men escape, and he ends up sort of making a mess of that. But to his cleverness, that's the whole story.
Right. I like this.
He came up with clever solutions to get him out of that jam.
Now, I do like the fact that you brought up that he didn't in the movie that he doesn't announce who he is, but in the book, the original version, as he's leaving, he shouts out who he was, right?
Yes.
And this is what upsets Poseidon, which also then is why Poseidon has kind of a grudge against him.
Yes.
He blinded one of my kids.
It's pride.
Yeah. So, Nate, you got something there?
I mean, a couple things. If you're straying away from adaptability, I just wanted to tie it.
No, I'm going to nail an adaptability down.
So just to kind of put a more modern spin on it, something I think that a lot of companies are grasping, but a lot aren't, is just really taking a look around the landscape and understanding that AI is the future. And so in the spirit of adaptability, you don't want to be the guy who was saying, oh, I don't need Excel. I have my calculator.
Right.
And then Excel came and took over everything. And all of a sudden you were outplaced. The same thing with AI. You don't want to be like, hey, I don't need AI. I have Excel and I'm good.
You got to grasp.
The biggest thing is grasping that and learning and growing and then figuring out how to use it and how to make it work for your environment. Trust, check, verify. Understand that it's a growing software and a learning software and nothing's going to be perfect, but really don't let that pass you by. Use that because every other company is, and you don't want to be the guy who's standing on the wayside. Don't be Blockbuster watching Netflix.
Right.
Disappear.
Right. I like it. I like great connection there. The other thing is I want us to keep in mind with the adaptability is when something stops working, stop defending it. Stop saying, well, this was a really good idea. That doesn't help. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So if it stops working, let's say it's worked all along and then it stops working or it's never worked. Stop defending it and replace it. Just move on to the next thing. I think that's what's really, really important. Okay. Treat every setback, what you do, as a learning experience. And we've always talked about this whole idea. And being able to say, hey, this didn't work. We tried it. Why didn't it work? Let's move on. Let's learn from it. Let's not repeat it. It's too often I see companies go, well, this is supposed to work because I read it in this book. So it's supposed to work. And we're going to keep doing it, even though it's not working for us. All right. So we're going to come back after a momentary break with the letters C, O, and N. So please, everyone, stay tuned. We're going to talk more and more about Odysseus and the Odyssey. And when we come back from this break, I'm going to ask Luke and Nate that don't they think that Odysseus had a striking resemblance to Jason Bourne? Okay, so we will be right back. Hey, and welcome back. Thank you so very much for staying tuned in or for tuning in right now for the last half an hour of Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. I'm here with Luke and Nate and Luke and both of these guys, and are having a great time. Today, we're talking about Odysseus as we talk about the 8th month in a row, talking about great leaders from the past and what modern day leaders can learn from them. So the bacon we're talking about, our little breakdown, our little loose outline today has been B is boldness. All right, this idea that bold decisions create opportunities that caution never will. A is adaptability. The leader who adjusts fastest survives the longest. And now we are into C, cunning and critical thinking. All right, outthink the problem before you try to outmuscle it. I think this is really important. So, Luke, what's your Odysseus story that is most prevalent when we're talking about being cunning? Cunning and critical thinking.
Unfortunately, I think his great tale of cunning,
yes,
is the Trojan horse. I think.
Oh, sorry, we already talked about the cunning.
He doesn't do that much. It's 2 stories.
No, come on. How about the Sirens? All right. When he dealt with the Sirens, how did he deal with the Sirens?
The Sirens.
It was critical thinking.
He does have a cunning response, but I always think about because. Okay, the Sirens, they have this song that lures men to their deaths.
Do you know the words?
It's
Save it.
Stop. I need to drive home.
Yeah. Okay. Not to mention, I don't know if we can. I don't know if we
just
can,
a city
if we
boy,
have the rights to play that.
Born and raised in South Detroit.
Right. Nice. Anyway, the Sirens.
That's white people.
It lures people to their deaths, and Odysseus comes up with a clever plan. He's going to have all of his men put beeswax in their ears.
Yeah.
So that they cannot hear the siren song. And that is clever. But the part where I sort of struggle with this as a story just about his cunning is he doesn't just stop at having everyone just put beeswax in their ears. He says, no, I'm going to tie myself to the mast and listen to this.
Yeah, when I hear what it's about. Right.
And to me, I do have to wonder, what's the gain?
Oh, come on. How could you leave there and say, hey, I heard they had this crazy song that lures men to crash on the rocks. I want to hear it, but I don't want to crash on the rocks.
But he has no guarantee that once they're away from the Sirens, he won't still be mad.
Yeah, but that's the rub. That's where he's like, I'm willing to try that. There was nobody said that would happen. Come on, it was fun. He's got to listen to it. You're going to tell me if somebody told you, Luke, on the way home today, there's this incredible song. So incredible, it drives men wild. All right. Do you want to listen to it? Would you say no? I just don't want to listen to it. Put beeswax in my ears.
I hear enough.
Do you?
Yeah, I hear fine.
All right. What about you, Nate?
Sabrina Carpenter's enough for me.
Would you listen to this song?
Careful. SBC is the songbird of our generation.
Would you listen to the song? Would you have said, yeah, tie me to the mast, let me hear the song?
I believe I would have. And honestly, it's because I do have a touch of arrogance to me. And so I think that I would want to be able to walk away from it knowing what it was, right? Knowing, being able to speak of it, to come back from my travels and be able to talk of it. But kind of touching on the cunning piece of him, his one of his greatest strengths was the ability to understand and read people. And to very quickly come into a situation, assess his surroundings, just from his interaction with the Cyclops, from his interaction with Circe, from like all of that, even like reading and kind of understanding the Trojan people and developing this plan to incept their walls and everything like that. Like his ability to assess a situation, figure out what people wanted, and then find out how to use that and manipulate that for his own personal gain was one of his strongest pieces.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of what just distinguished him.
Okay. I'll buy into that. I think that it's always this idea that I think great leaders, whether they play it or not, could become great chess players, because it's the idea of being able to think many moves ahead of your time and saying, if I do this, they may do this, they may do this, they may do this. More than likely, they're going to do this. All right.
And that's interesting, because that's actually me and my boss. I mean, we spend a significant amount of time just talking through strategic thinking. And that's even something that I was talking to one of my supervisors is, hey, we have to pull out of the day-to-day. And when me and you have our one-on-one, when we talk about next steps, we have to pull out of what's going on right now and start thinking 4 or 5 moves ahead, and then working backwards to going, okay, this is where we want to be. Who do we have to position where in order to achieve that? So I think that's a huge part of being a good leader.
Yeah. And so I've got a couple of clients right now, 2 new clients that I'm just starting to work with. And one of the first things I'm doing is changing the way that they market their product. And they're like, yeah, but this is, we have competitors and they market it this way. So shouldn't we market it that same way? And I was like, no, because you don't want to be one of the herd. You want to be the one and only. Let them chase after you. And their initial question is, well, then if we do something like that, then they're all going to do that. And I was like, right. That's a good move. That's a good understanding. When we zig, they're going to zig after us, right? So when they're zigging, we zag and we go back and forth. We have to constantly be the leader. We have to be the first at every one of those things. There was somebody who said something to the effect of when you sit there and certain things are in a category, you need to be the first in any category. And if you can't be the first in a given category, create a new category. Okay. And you go back into time and the people who did it the best, the real signature of it, while Pepsi and Coca-Cola were fighting against each other, 7-Up came into the picture and said, we are not a cola, we're the uncola, right? They created a whole different category. So they didn't battle against Pepsi and Coca-Cola. They were their own category. And I think it's really important to be able to do that. And that's this critical thinking. That's this being cunning. It's not so much about being sneaky. It's about thinking clearly when everyone else is reacting. Okay. We talked a little bit about that reacting on the way up here, right, Luke? Is understand that most people react out of emotion. They get scared and they're like, oh my God, the competition is doing this. We should do this. We got to slow it down a little bit and say, but if we do that, what's going to happen next? Okay. So, Luke, I'll let you pick the story on O's ownership. All right.
We're running out of Odyssey here.
Yeah. No. What do you mean we're running out of Odyssey? Ownership here. Leaders own the outcome, especially when it hurts. Okay, this is what's really important. So when you think about anything that he did overall, what would you say is something that you'd say he really owned it?
It's kind of a forgotten part of the Odyssey. But at the very end of the Odyssey tale, after Odysseus kills the suitors in his house, that he ends the lives of many young men in Ithaca. Which causes quite a bit of stir in his community. All the fathers of these and families of the men that he killed want retribution.
Right.
So they show up to him to air their grievances and potentially kill him. And Odysseus, for his mark, he stands and he says, "Yes, I did what I did. I'm the king, and I slew these men because they were taking advantage of my graciousness,
right, in my
absence,
family, right, in my absence, right,
and now he ends up having to get saved by Athena, but still he stands by what he did in his actions. Says, I'm not going to back down. And if it comes to the end of the line, I want to make it clear that my values, I'm not going to go back on this thing that I
Incredible. See, I knew you'd come up with the right story, Luke, without a doubt. I'm going to go back to this idea of early on when I first started Master Happiness, and I was working through this idea of what do I stand for? What type of customer do I want, etc. And I laid out my group of values, my core values. What I call is the idea of the lines I won't cross, the types of customers I want, the things I will do, and the things I won't do. And I had a customer who hired me. He was a marketing company for a very select group, and he hired me to help him define the marketing strategy that he could sell. And I thought, wow, this is great, an ideal customer for me. The problem was I didn't like the way he was doing business. He did some things dishonestly. I didn't like the way he treated his employees, etc. So at a certain point in time, I parted ways, and I said, well, I don't think we're the right mix. I'm going to leave. And his first response was, I'll pay you more money. And man, when you're starting a business and someone throws more money at you like that, it's really difficult to say, well, do I take the money and move forward with this or what? But I said to myself, no, I got to stick to what I'm teaching. I got to stick to my core values and stick to this. So it's what you're talking about, Luke, when you talk about ownership is if I'm going to lay out my core values and say, this is what I stand for, this is my mission, this is what I do, All right. I can't break that. I definitely can't break that in front of my employees, my team, because once they see it, then they go, well, those are just words. They don't mean anything. I can't break those in front of my customers because then they sit there going, so everything he says is just a lie. So it's really important you make statements and you say, this is what we stand for. This is what we do. This is our culture. This is how we treat our people. This is how we treat our employees, etc. This is how we treat our customers. And you stand by it, even when it starts to hurt. That's true ownership. Nate, you got anything to add about ownership?
No, I think ownership's the biggest piece. I think as a leader, no matter what, your teams, your employees, everybody needs you to be bought in and believe in what you do. And so just for me in my role, I have tons of conversations behind closed doors with the support teams who are, my peers, with my manager, with his boss, everyone. And the biggest piece of all of it is, we have these conversations, but I know when I leave that room and I close that door, whatever the decision that is made, I will own it. And even if I don't agree with it personally, the message that I radiate to my supervisors, to my my dispatchers, whatever I need, it is that ownership piece. And I'll talk, and I'll have times where my supervisors will pull me aside and be like, Nate, what are we doing? I don't agree with this at all. And I will take them and I'll talk them through the process, and this is how we got to where we are. But then I tell them, when you go out and you work with your team, you need to own this. You have to own this piece. It can't be, well, they said for us to do this. Never do that, because the minute you take away that piece, your people are not going to follow you. They're not going to respect your decisions. They're not going to respect your authority, because they're going to think you are just a pawn. And so even if you don't agree with it, you have to let them know, like, this is the decision. This is the direction that we are going. And you have to own it. You have to have complete authority of it.
I like it. I like it a lot. One of the things I really want to drive home with ownership is this. Ownership turns mistakes into credibility. All right. When I make a mistake and I own up to it and I go, yep, I'm only human. I made a mistake. Let's learn from it. And you move like that. That shows real credibility in front of your team, in front of your customers. You make a mistake and you don't own up to it, you lose all types of credibility. The other thing about ownership is this, is I run into sometimes, and I get to overhear conversations because people get really friendly with me. And I hear people at the supervisor level, manager level, etc., bashing their own company. All right. And they talk at different levels. They chat up the line to managers. They chat down the line to their subordinates. And they talk about the negativity, like, oh my God, I can't believe the company's doing this. This is terrible. We're not gonna survive, that type of thing. And when I called them out on it, they go, oh, no, I didn't say that. You must have misunderstood me. And I think they have to own up to it and understand that the words that they say are so very important. If I say those things talking uphill, all right, and if I just say, instead of I'm looking for guidance, that's one thing. But to say we're screwing up and you talk uphill, you have to be really careful, because the person above you can use those words against you.
Absolutely.
Okay. When you are talking downhill and you knock the company to the people below you, they are most definitely either going to mimic you, or they're definitely going to use those words against you. So your best bet is to never talk bad about the company. You always say, this is the company, this is the direction we're heading in, this is what I'm fighting for. And then quietly, when you're talking to the person above you, you say, look, I don't completely understand this direction. Can you help me understand this? I'll fight for it. I'll go to battle for it. I'll fight the Sirens for you if I need to. Not the Cyclops, but I'll fight the Sirens for you. Okay. In order to make this happen, but make me understand it. How does this fit our vision? All right. So with that, let's just jump into this last one, and that is N. Navigate through adversity. Navigate through adversity. All right. What we mean here is your job is to keep the team moving toward the goal, no matter what the storm is. And this is what I said right from the very beginning. I thought the biggest lesson I got out of the whole thing here was just that, is that they said, we have a goal. We're getting back to Ithaca. No matter what gets in our way, we're getting back to Ithaca. He was like, I've got my wife there. I've been away 20 years. I need to get back to Penelope. I'm going to do whatever it takes. Life is a pain in the ass sometimes, but I'm going to beat it, and I'm going to face and overcome every obstacle, because that's what it's all about. And so the question is, when you navigate through adversity, where are some of those things? What's the goal that meant so much to you guys in your life? that you said, I'm gonna do everything. I mean, I will run through fire to get to it. And think about it. It could be your personal life, but this is a business show. Is there anything in your business, anything that you'd say, this is what I stand for? There's a little hush goes over the crowd. I know it's a tough question. I like throwing these questions at you guys. I've done plenty of things where I've worked with some companies that I could see that they're failing. They're not doing well. They're breaking the mold. They're not going over their core values. And so one of the first things I do in quiet, when it's just the company, we talk about, let's reaffirm those core values. Let's talk about those. What did those mean? Did you really understand those when you define those? Are they just a word that you pass around? Is it something for an advertising piece, or is it part of your heart and soul? And if it is part of your heart and soul, then let's fight for it and let's prove we believe in that. And I say, I will go to battle. I'll put my name on the line to support you as long as you're doing that as well. Okay. But the moment you turn your back and go, those are only words, let's just twist it and go this other way. It's completely different.
I think, and just kind of expanding on that a little bit, for a lot of times leading teams, it can be challenging, but what you have to do is you have to be able to articulate the why.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And it might be the company's why, it might be your own personal why. Like for me, a lot of people have different things that motivate and drive them. And so for me personally, the main motivator for me is to be the best leader that I possibly can be, right? And so in the conversations that I have with my supervisors, I've had conversations at times where one of them's like, Nate, you hold me to a higher standard than any of the other supervisors are held to here. Or you push harder, you ask for more of me than anyone else. They're looking around at their peers and going, other guys aren't being held to that same level. And I sit there and I tell them and I go, I want to be the best, right?
Okay.
And the only way I am the best is if my team is the best, which means that you have to be the best. So Beautiful. You're right. I am going to hold you to a higher standard.
Yeah.
Because I expect that of you. And I'm very honest. I said, I am not asking you to ever exceed to the level that I am, because I understand that I can push myself harder than a lot of people can. Yeah. I don't have always the most healthy work-life balance, everything like that. However, when I build my team around me, I'm looking at that. And when the time comes, if I were to get promoted, I want to be able to say with full confidence, this is who's going to fill my role. Here is who's going to step behind me. And I said, I am only as good as you guys are. And so for me, my why is I want to build a legacy behind me. I want to have a string of leaders standing behind me that immediately follow me. And it's been funny because I had one of my first supervisors, and we had that conversation. He's like, Nate, he's like, I don't understand. Like, I'm looking around. Nope. You're asking more of me than any of these other guys are. And I said, yes, but I also tell you every day that you are the best and we are the best and we are the best team. And so when I took the time to explain it to him and build it into him, and when he looks around and he sees that I'm paying more attention to him than the other managers are to their supervisors and that sort of thing, he goes, okay. And we had a conversation this past weekend. He's like, I get it, Nate. He's like, we hold to a different level, and he's kind of slowly starting to adhere to that.
Good.
But if you take the time to explain the why to your team, they're going to help you with that adversity. It's never do this because I said so. It's do this because together we are going to build something incredible, and we're going to build a customer service level and a team around us that is going to be unstoppable.
I love it. Luke, you're sitting there like with bated breath. I don't know if you had anything. No? All right. Because I want to kind of wrap this up and then see if we've got any these fun facts here. So I think the important thing is the bacon when we talk about Odysseus and what we can learn from him as a leader is this. B is for boldness, act with courage and a plan. It's not just courage. It's not being reckless. It's courage and a plan. Adaptability means adjust faster than your problems. So you've got to be able to adjust faster than the problems come at you. All right. Cunning is outthink before you outmuscle. All right. Sometimes what we always think is brute strength, anger, aggressiveness, that kicks in, but that's an emotional reaction. What we have to do is use our brain. Okay. Ownership is carry the weight when it counts. More so than anything else is when the ship is sinking, be the one who's saying, this is on me. This is, you guys get out of here. I'm going to take this because this is my fault. All right. Navigation is the N, and that's steer through the storms towards the goal. All right. And this little ending here that I really want to drive home is this: Odysseus was not a perfect leader, not by far. He was pride driven, sometimes reckless, and he made costly mistakes. Many of his people died because of his mistakes.
In fact, all
other than him. Okay. So there you go. So that's many. Yeah. But that's exactly why his story still speaks to us today. Okay. Leadership isn't about being flawless. It's about being resilient. It's about being resourceful, and it's being about relentless in getting your people home. That's what's so important. All right. So Luke, I'm going to throw it back to you. Got any fun facts about Odysseus or another story that you think is worth sharing?
Yes. I actually, when I have these episodes, I sort of just scroll through the figures Wikipedia, just if anything pops out. And I was reminded of a story pre-Trojan War.
Oh,
this is a story about Odysseus. It is about the courtship of a beautiful Greek woman.
Okay.
And all of the kings of Greece come down to potentially fight over who's going to get to marry this very beautiful woman. And this is a very tense situation because there is every political leader in Greece in this one location. Odysseus comes to the father of this woman and says, "Hey, listen, I am a clever man. How about I settle this so that whoever this beautiful daughter of yours chooses, it won't end in bloodshed. It won't end in damage. And for the price of that, all you have to do is set me up with your niece, Penelope."
Okay.
This is how he meets Penelope.
Yeah.
And the guy says, "Yeah, sure, go for it." So he goes to all of the men and he says, "Hey, listen, guys, I have an idea. None of us want violence. None of us want to be killed. So how about we make this deal and we all agree to it? Whoever this woman selects, we all have to enter an honor-bound contract to protect that marriage.
Wow.
And fight to the end for it, no matter who it is."
Yeah.
And everyone agrees, and the courtship is picked, and it all works out. It's a clever story, right? It's clever for Odysseus.
Yes.
The woman, Helen of Troy, who famously, things don't go super well, maybe leads to a 10-year-long conflict because of that. So it's kind of funny that this is an early story of his cleverness and his sort of wile leading to a clever solution, but it also maybe sort of dooms him to 20 years of his life being lost.
That's true.
The Trojan War. It's interesting.
Wow, it's very interesting. That's cool. I had never heard that. That's worth another book on its own.
It's a post-Homer myth, but it is part of it's in a pseudo Apollodorus.
Okay. So Luke, while the camera's still on you, what's your takeaway here from the show? What's the big thing? Like if you had to wrap this up in a minute, what would you most want people to learn, either from the movie, the book, as a leader, as just somebody who's a movie aficionado?
The timeless message of Odysseus is everyone is attacking the problem head on. If you have a solution in mind to a problem, it's because a million people have done it before you. Think outside the box. Do it a little differently.
Wow. Who invited this guy to the show?
Yeah, I know. How am I supposed to follow that, Marty? Come on.
Where you're following.
Yeah, I need some cookie cutter response.
Yeah, there you go. That was nice. What's your big ending there? What's your takeaway? What's the biggest thing that anyone can learn from Odysseus? Watching the movie, reading the book, just listening to the show.
I think it's before anything else, it's think before you speak. Right.
Beautiful.
Both in the ways, kind of like Luke said, where if you're looking at a problem, taking time to kind of analyze, is there a better way to do it? Looking at some of his follies, yelling his name to the Cyclops. If you've taken a moment to just think, maybe I better not
do that,
shout out who I am on my way out. It's a lot of his struggles, both, a lot of his saving grace, but a lot of the perils that he got himself in. And I think even the story of the bag of the wind that they gave him, and him choosing not to tell his crew what was in it, and instead, just telling them, "Hey, don't open the bag." And they go, "Well, it's obviously full of treasure," and then dooming them to all that. So just taking a moment, really surveying the situation, and thinking before you speak.
Great ending there. You guys are both geniuses, man. You talk about getting ready for the show. This is amazing. We should, every leader from now on, we should do it when there's a movie about them. We have a great conversation. All right. I'm going to go back with the most important thing that I get out of the entire thing is there are plenty of incredible stories, great poems, great legends that you look at, unsurmountable obstacles. There's losses, there's love, there's all this kind of stuff. But the thing that keeps driving me home is the whole idea that he is focused on the end. His whole goal is, I just want to get back to Penelope. I think that's, to me, is the strongest thing. And whether it's you're fighting to get back home to that special person, or you have a vision for your business and you're saying, this is what we are trying to become. All right. It's doing everything you can to do that. I've seen too many businesses just give up on that and just go, yeah, that's kind of hard. Let's not do that. We're good enough where we're at, as opposed to continue to keep fighting. Worse yet, as I see many businesses that never set a vision, they go, I just want to be comfortable. All right. And if you just want to be comfortable, you will be doomed to just be comfortable at best. All right. So with that, I learned a lot here. You guys both saw the movie. I have to yet go see the movie because I'm really looking forward to it. And then after we do that, maybe we'll share some comments on where you think it rated. For the rest of you, go out and see the movie. Go out and get the book, read the poems, understand what your vision is. Where are you headed? Where do you want to go? And what are you willing to do to get there? All right. Thank you so much for listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. I'm your host, Marty Jalove. Come on here every Monday night at 7. But you can also listen to the podcast. Tune into the podcast. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, look for Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. Again, thank you so very much. See you next week.
Thank you.